morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I hope you're all enjoying your version of the winter wonderland that we're experiencing. I'm Heather Lammers-Bogard. I'm a lawyer with Costello Porter in Rapid City, and I'm also a member of the State Bar of South Dakota CLE Committee. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. And I have a quick PSA. Do you or another State Bar member or law student you know have a drug or alcohol problem or struggle with depression or anxiety? Lawyers Concern for Lawyers is a confidential and independent resource for South Dakota lawyers, law students, and their families. Your referral or visit with Lawyers Concern for Lawyers is strictly confidential and privileged. Call Becky Porter for more information at 605-391-5191. Becky is an LCL member, and your communications with her are likewise confidential and privileged. You can also call 988 to reach a mental health professional or the Sand Creek Employee Assistance Program at their confidential crisis telephone line, 1-888-243-5744. Mental health professionals at both numbers are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This program today should be about 1 hour in length. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenters by typing your questions into the chat feature of Zoom. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentations. Thank you to the State Bar of South Dakota and CLE Inc. for their support of today's program. Also, personally, I'd like to thank Beth Overmo for her assistance with this and all of the other CLE activities and other bar functions. I would like to now introduce our presenters. First, we will have Tyler Rude. Tyler joined Infotech Solutions in 2015 after more than 8 years at Dakota State University as Assistant Director of Admissions. Tyler grew up near Brant, South Dakota on his family farm. Upon graduating from Dakota State with a Bachelor in Business Management, Tyler worked at Schwann's Home Service for a short period of time before returning to his alma mater. After acquiring experience in many business aspects, he left his position as Assistant Director of Admissions to begin his current role as the Business Development Director of Infotech Solutions. In 2017, Tyler obtained his Master's in Strategic Leadership from Black Hills State University. Tyler is married to his wife, Jill, and has 3 boys. He enjoys hunting, fishing, being outside, and spending time with his family. Our second presenter is Thomas Keller. Mr. Keller is a family law practitioner and child support referee from Sioux Falls. He has been in practice since 1988 with an emphasis in divorce and family law. He is a present or former member of the Family Law Committee, as well as active participation of Women in Law, Rural Practice, Solo and Small Firm, and CLE committees. Tom has been a child support referee since 2006. Outside of work, Tom has been active as a writer and movie reviewer for Tempest Magazine, a board member of the Sioux Empire Homeless Coalition, Centers for Equality, and Board of Historic Preservation. He graduated from Duke University in 1984 with a degree in Public Policy Studies and the University of South Dakota School of Law in 1988. And with that, I will turn it over to Tyler to begin the presentation.
I'll just kind of get my stuff here. And yeah, we'll kind of go from here. So yeah, thanks for letting me take this opportunity just to go through some tips and tricks and can someone give me a verbal if you can see my screen and hear me? Just make sure I'm doing it.
It's working.
Perfect. Thank you. That's always my concern of getting through this and like, we can't hear you and you're not sharing anything. So perfect. So yeah, appreciate the opportunity to go over some cybersecurity stuff. And it's going to be kind of dual faceted where it's going to be some personal stuff you can be doing, and then at the firm level too. So Infotech Solutions, we are based out of Madison, South Dakota, and what we are a MSP, so managed service provider when it comes to cybersecurity and professional IT. Our footprint, starts in Madison, goes north to Fargo, over to Bismarck, over to Rapid, back to Pier, down to Wagner, Yankton, and back up to Madison again. So we have a statewide footprint there. And then we're association members for endorsed cybersecurity for different associations. So one is the state bar. The other one's going to be the Independent Insurance Agents of South Dakota, and the South Dakota Retailers Association, and the Agribusiness Association too. So it's not just saying, hey, we feel like we're doing a pretty good job. No, it's association backing. So that's really something we like to hang our hat on. It's not just me sitting in the office or my mom's basement. We have a full staff of 14 individuals to answer phone calls and help out with the background stuff too. So just because I'm talking here doesn't mean we're not getting work done on the back end. So let's kind of get into it here. Tips and tricks here. So we're going to talk about monitor and manage. So M&Ms. So at this point, we need to be looking at all aspects of your firm, your organization. So at this point, we're looking into, we look at removal of admin rights, because when everyone has admin rights, you have the right to download anything and everything you want, right? Which is great. On the flip side, if you click that wrong email, if you click the wrong URL and you give someone permission to take over your computer, they also have the right to download anything and everything they want. So you let the bad guy in, he lets all his friends in at that point as well too. So that's the reason you can take away some of those local admins. Are we making sure our backups are being ran? Who ran them last? Who has them? Are they physical? Are they in the cloud? Did they fail over? Have we tested them before? Those are the things that we look at on a day-to-day basis. We're looking at proper segmentation off your firewalls. The VPN's working. We switched over internet providers. Everything's broke. Who do we call? Ghostbusters, right? No, Infotech. We take care of all that stuff for you guys. So I kind of have the saying, when it's everyone's job for IT, it's no one's job, right? So that's where we come into play. Everything's monitored and managed across the board. Emails are a big thing right now too. So if you have a business email compromise, 90% of those business email compromises are going to come from emails. Those breaches are going to come from emails. So that's the biggest thing. And we're going to talk about some of the ways that we can change that and making sure we're locking our stuff down across the board. The biggest thing is going to be backups. If you're like me and you like to smoke meat, it's the rib method. 3, 2, 1. 3 hours on smoke, 2 hours wrapped, 1 hour of just cooking them with the glaze on, right? Same thing for your backups. You have to have 3 different copies in 2 different formats, and one's got to be in the cloud, right? So we're not just relying on one thing. So yeah, oh great, that's a Monday. I had the Monday flash drive and I switch them out and I keep them by my desk, which is great. So we've had a client before they're ours. They did this exact same thing. Well, they tried to retrieve some files and the first file is corrupt. So they put thumb drives in every day for 3 years for absolutely nothing. Then they bring them home. So you throw them in your purse, you throw them in your pickup. Well, days like today, this week, -10 for lows. Those are not great on hardware. Or when it's 100 degrees in the pickup or in the van, that's not good on that hardware. They're going to have some hardware failure. So making sure we have proper backups at different levels. And there's so many different levels of backups too. So you can say, yep, I got your backup. I got your stuff backed up. So that's, what's your recovery time objective? So if your recovery time objectives, maybe a day, not bad, right? What is it going to be if you need to be down to 2 hours? So when they give your backups, they just give you everything, or is it everything was at in your house? So think of a backup of your house. You have your chairs, you have your books, you have your utensils. If you just have a very standard file backup, they're just going to dump everything in the living room saying, hey, here's all your stuff. You got to put it back. The next level of backup is putting exactly everything in its exact spot, right? So there's completely different levels of this backup. So the word backup is just at face value. If you're looking at recovery time objective to like 2 hours for your whole firm, there's options for that too. It's kind of the Cadillac of backups, but there's different levels. So making sure that your backup level meets your recovery time objective. And if you don't know what your recovery time objective is, how long can you be without backups? or a computer, right? So think about that for your firm. That's one of the big things. Speaking of big things, multi-factor. The single one thing you take away today, multi-factor, 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 right? And this has got to be at every level. That can be your finger. It could be your face. It could be a biometric. It could be anything. The most common ones that you're going to see are a text to your phone, an SMS message, right? And then, or an app like a Duo or Authenticator. So if you're not quite familiar with multi-factor, multi-factor is when you put your username in and you put your password in and you get to your site. Let's just use wellsfargo.com, for example. Put your username in, you put your password in. If you do not have multi-factor, it sends you right to all your accounts. If you have multi-factor enabled, you'll go to username, password, hit enter, and it's going to say, hey, I sent a text to your phone. Can you read me those numbers? And those numbers switch out every single time too. So it's not one and done. So that's, if it sends to your text, that's the way it's going to come across. If you have like an authenticator, it rolls numbers every day. It rolls them every 30 seconds, rolls new numbers, and you have to hit the right combination at the right time. So again, it's huge. This is a stopgap. So this has to be on emails. This has to be on banking. This has to be on just your RMM that you use, right? Any online services that you use needs to have it. A good example, even social media. We had an individual call us saying, hey, my business email or my business page on Facebook got hacked. Well, they went in there and they spent $10,000 of their marketing money because the credit card was tied to it, and sponsored ads to somewhere else, just because they didn't have multi-factor on their Facebook for their business page, right? That's important things. So it creates a stopgap. So when we get alerted, let's say you have Infotech as your IT, we have triggers. So it's supposed to stop you saying, all right, I put my username in. Let's say I'm watching Denver Broncos football, which has been an absolute misery this year, so don't bring it up. But I'm watching Denver on Sunday, and I get a text saying, hey, your password is 75643. I know I'm not trying to get into my email right now. So that means someone has my username and someone has my password, and they're trying to get in. So that's an indication of compromise, IOC. Those are some important red flags. So multi-factor across the board wherever you can. Email licensing, it gets a little bit tricky here. So it all depends on who you are inside of your firm and what do you need for licensing. We have just your regular basics. If it's an intern, they don't need to see everything. If you're, you probably have to have legal holds. So you're looking at a different email licensing for that. For the Microsoft 365 is mainly what I'm talking about here. There's really no delineation between Gmail and Yahoo and some of those other domain accounts, but I'm mainly talking about Microsoft 365. So yeah, if you need legal hold on all your stuff, if you need the 7-year hold, and then also if you need encryption, just knowing what you're legally obligated to for your email licensing. And there's so many different ways to stay safe and secure. But again, emails, multi-factor, and then you can get different licensing. We'll talk about some specific licensing later on in this presentation. Do you still host a server? Servers are kind of becoming a way of the past. So do you really need it anymore? I mean, are the programs that you're utilizing, are they going online? Is there an online option for them? Server's a piece of hardware. It's, you know, $8,000 and it's only good for 10 years, right? But that server goes down, you're dead in the water. You know, and you can't just run down and go grab a server at Walmart anywhere. You know, some of the servers that we switched out over the summer, they're on a 2 to 3 month back order. You know, can you be down for 2 months? No, no one can be down for 2 months, right? So it's really taking a look at, do you need to have that hardware on site, or can you move to a SharePoint site? A good example would be like today, where no one wants to go into work. Can you still work from home from SharePoint? Absolutely. So SharePoint's going to be an option for you, and it's a Microsoft 365 program. So if you have that, more than likely with the licensing, SharePoint and OneDrive, that all comes with it. And it's just like a big file share, right? You can't run anything out of SharePoint, but getting to the SharePoint site is going to be much handier when people are working remotely and not even at home remotely. Let's say you're at the trial and you want to pull something up and you have wireless there, a secure wireless, right? You can pull stuff up that way too, which is great. And multiple people can be in multiple SharePoint sites at the same time. So if we're looking at budgetary stuff for next year, I can be putting stuff in as my supervisor approves it. So really take a hard look and see if you really do need a server anymore. And then are you utilizing your server the right way? Is it just a big file share that just holds, PDFs and Word? If that's the case, yeah, you definitely don't need a server anymore. Plus servers they come end of life, right? So, and we'll talk about that a little bit later and what you have and where you should be. Personal devices, what can't you do with your phone anymore? So making sure that you're securing those as well. Are you using company assets on your phone? Maybe it's just more personal assets. So, you can bank on with your phone. You can do your investments, your Edward Jones or fill in the blank crypto. You can do all that from your phone now. So does that have multi-factor on it? So if you leave your phone, and here's my horror story. We were coming back from Chicago and my phone charger didn't get it perfectly sat in the charging port on my phone. So we're sitting at the hotel lobby waiting for our bus to come, and bus is here. Everyone jumps on. I get 4 or 5, 6 miles down the road and realize my phone is in a Chicago hotel lobby with no multi-factor on it. So anyone can walk up, swipe to the right, and then they have all my stuff. So my Wells Fargo is sitting there, First Premier is sitting there, Edward Jones is sitting there, crypto is sitting there. So, and then those don't have multi-factor on it. So making sure that you're securing your personal devices as well as much as you can. And you should have multi-factor on to get into your phone, and then multi-factor once you get into some of the apps, especially your banking apps. So again, it's going to either send you a text or else you can just use a biometric like your thumbprint to get past that. Everything's got to be a multi-layered approach when it comes to your organization in particular. You can't just say, hey, I got antivirus, we're good. It'll tell me if something's wrong. Well, antiviruses only work if we know what the problem is, right? So it's got to be a multi-layered approach from locking down your administrative right control, enabling multi-factor authentication, having anti-spam, anti-malware, anti-spyware across the board, making sure you have enhanced firewall management. Just because you have a firewall plugged in doesn't mean that's segmented properly or you're getting those updates on it. It's got to be multi-layered. Are you patching your operating system? Patch Tuesday was just yesterday, I do believe, and I think they had 6 patches just for Microsoft alone. So making sure those are getting deployed. Everyone just sets it on automatic, but if that automatic freezes during those updates, it never auto heals itself. So you have to go back in, and I just had a organization a little while ago, a month ago or so, and they still had Windows 7, and the last patch that they had was January of 2020. So those are big no-nos when it comes down to it. So making sure that this is a multi-layered approach and it's monitored and it's managed. So your information is kind of like an onion, and that bad guy's got to peel every single layer of security to get to your data. This isn't mandatory by no means, but once you have a password manager, and I'm not talking about the little book or little piece of paper that sits next to your mouse or underneath your mouse pad or the Excel file you have on your desktop. I'm talking about a true password manager. Once you have one, you'll never go back. So utilizing something like a LastPass, and there's different levels of it. You can utilize it at maybe more of a personal level, but I'm talking more at the organizational level. So you don't want to be sending out the new password to the QuickBooks file via plain text in email, right? So if someone's email gets compromised, we have the QuickBooks link. Great, this is fantastic. So yeah, making sure you have a password manager, you can deploy those, even if it's changing your Wi-Fi, making sure that that's done in a secure manner as well. Application whitelisting. Think about this as the bouncer at the door of a nightclub. I've never been to a nightclub in my life, and probably at my age, it's never going to happen, and I'm okay with that. But is your name on the list? He has a checkbox of who's allowed, and that's the same for your organization. That might be Word, it might be Excel, it might be PowerPoint, it might be Access, QuickBooks, Intuit, maybe some very specific industry programs or software that you use. Those are the good guys. We know they're the good guys. Everyone else is bad by default. right? So it doesn't mean we can't get them on the list, but that's where it comes into a zero trust policy. So everyone's a bad guy, no matter who you are, and we vet from there backwards, right? So that's the biggest thing. That's the new stuff. It's new to the standard right now for cybersecurity, but we've been implementing this since day one with all of our clients. It's a teeter-totter of where you can work effectively and have cybersecurity. And it's our job to find that teeter-totter, and it's not in the middle. We know that, but we're pretty good at figuring out where that is for each industry and each organization, because everyone is absolutely different. There's no blanket that just works for everybody. The new hot topic right now is cyber liability, and there's no doubt about that. We've seen an uptick. We've been saying these are the things you should be doing for quite a few years to our clients, but they cost money, and there's no been real incentive to spend more money to do that. Well, now cyber liability is changing everything. So involving the insurance companies and then the underwriters. And it's become interesting because everyone knows the keywords, but no one knows what they actually mean or what they do and how that changes their organization. So having, an EDR or Defender or just some of those, I guess, more high level things that's even different from just a patch management software or patch management system. Or even in multi-factor across the board. So cyber liability is changing a lot of different things, and it's only going to get more and more harder to get, because right now I think they get the reports back, but it's still sitting in German. They don't really know what that means, the underwriters nor the insurance companies. So what's going to happen in the next couple of years is they're going to start hiring guys like Infotech or computer individuals going out and they're going to do self audits and say, yeah, this is just like banks do. Banks have to do that, and they're going to start doing that for organizations. So when a company over here has had 6 breaches and they don't have a firewall and they don't do anything, they get the same insurance as someone that has a firewall and has an MSP. Those days are gone. So to even obtain cyber liability or renew or increase, it's only going to get muddier and muddier. So getting your foot in the door now is absolutely where you need to be, looking at the future. Immutable backups. This is something that's probably more brand new on any of the stuff that we've talked about, but just making sure that there's no way to delete any backups. It's not you, it's not us as the organization, or definitely is not the bad guy, right? Because backups are the golden key. So if we have that option to do some immutable backups, we do that with our clients, but just ensuring that you have everything taken care of for backups, and they physically cannot be deleted. This is going to be something coming forward, so keep an eye out for that and those options. Everyone knows about phishing. We've went back to the Nigerian prince email that everyone's gotten since 1992 and the AOL, and those days are gone. But phishing is, let's test your individuals, let's test your organization in a controlled environment and not have it in a real life scenario. Let's train the end user, let's train that finger, let's train those eyes, because your employees are your biggest asset. They your biggest liability, yes, at times, but are they biggest asset? Yeah, at times too. Just an individual knowing that it's definitely not right. This doesn't feel right. You get the spidey sense of I shouldn't click that. Or if we have someone that did click it, like, I know I shouldn't have done that. Well, then don't do it, right? Freeze, take a second, look at it. We offer phishing as well for our organizations. We fish 2 times a month, and it goes out in different times. So not everyone in the organization gets the exact same email at the exact same time and the exact same day. It goes over about a 3-day stretch. The content's different too, from your Netflix password has changed to your undeliverable package from FedEx couldn't get delivered. Please click here to see where it's at to come get it. To fake DocuSigns, it goes across the board. It's pretty good. But having those click rates go from maybe like a 20% success rate, we want that down to like a 3 or 4% success rate for phishing, right? So again, having that in a controlled environment is it's a good thing. Defender Plan 1, we kind of talked about this a little bit before on the email portions on what licensing you're getting. But Defender Plan 1 is a add-on license to your Microsoft 365 accounts, whether you have standard, business apps, basic, or E3. This is an add-on to it. And what this add-on does is it clicks every email, it clicks all the attachments, it clicks the URLs, and it clicks the links to every email, and it opens it up in a kitty litter. I call it a kitty litter box. It opens it up in a kitty litter box. And if it's malicious, it doesn't even get to that end user. So this is on top of the phishing, but this is a huge, huge resource or stack to have inside your guys' environment is Defender Plan 1. And that's the stuff that we deploy from day one. So mixing and matching these licenses to get your best outcome is absolutely huge. And Microsoft is learning this too. So what they're doing is they're packaging some of these deals together that gets you your email, your Word, Excel, your PowerPoint, your apps, your SharePoint, Defender Plan 1, and EDR. And we'll talk about EDR here in a second. But switching those plans around and having those done. But yeah, Defender Plan 1, if you have a Microsoft 365, absolutely upgrade to that licensing. Endpoint detection and response. This is huge. This is the game changer. So this is antivirus's big brother that's on steroids. This is kind of an AI learning. So if you have endpoint detection and response, it's learning with you, the places that you go, the places that you don't go, when you're going places, and it's live time, and it conducts triggers back to whoever your point of contact is, saying, hey, this isn't right. They don't do this. Very simple things in layman's term is, hey, this person created a forward. Is that right? No. Why would they create a forward to www.ihackedyou@16543@gmail.com? Right. So those are the things that should be triggered. So this endpoint detection and response is live with you. It's again, it's a new version antivirus that honestly, cyber liability is pushing for this. Defender Plan 1 are the biggest ones right now, in addition to any baseline that we have across the board. I got a couple more things before we wrap up on my end here, but there's a couple things that are coming up. So if you have any Windows 7 computers in your environment, we got to get those switched out. Like I said in my story before, Windows 7 has not had any updates since 2020, early 2020. So we're coming up in a couple of years of that. So Windows 7's got to go. If you have Windows 10, which majority you probably do, a vast majority, that is coming end of life, I do believe, next year. So we have 1 full year to switch out to Windows 11. The hard part is everything that was on Windows 7 before a couple years ago could go to 10. No questions asked. It's just a licensing issue. You can overlay that licensing on your same computer. Now, they've created partnerships, maybe is the right word, but not all Windows 10 computers can go to Windows 11. There is a hardware component and a version of the processor that will take it, and there's ones that won't. So there is a good opportunity if there's a computer more than 2 years old, that computer's got to get replaced. It cannot get upgraded. If you have a Windows 10 computer that maybe you got 1 or 2 years ago, more than likely that'll be able to go to 11. But that's going to be a pretty big budgetary item for a majority of people that's inside of your association that maybe they don't know about quite yet. So that's going to be a big thing coming down. Also, if you're hosting a server, if you're on Windows 11 for your server, that's coming up end of life in October of 2023. So we're less than a year out on that. The hard part is if you go back to retain a server again, when we've switched those out, they've been 2 to 3 months out. So if it's 10 months EOL and we walk back, 2 to 3 months on purchasing it and getting it to our door, another month to set it up, there's timeline issues, right? So if you have a Windows 12 or Server 12 on your server, that's coming end of life very soon here. The last thing I want to wrap up with is we have co-written a grant, or co-signed, I should say, a grant with the state of South Dakota for small businesses. So it's going to be the Fusion Center, BIT, the Attorney General Office, and then the Economic Development Office in conjunction with DSU. And it's for small businesses and cybersecurity. It's called CyberSafe SD. So what it does is if you sign up for this, your association or your organization gets a free pen test. You get a risk assessment. They'll come on site. They'll take a look at your organization, what you're doing great, and maybe some things that we can fix. Vulnerability scans, security awareness training. So that's phishing. They'll do that for you. They'll monitor all your business domains, and they'll monitor all your emails inside that business domain. So they'll monitor infotechsd.com for impersonations, but then they'll also monitor tyler.root@infotechsd.com to make sure that no one's trying to impersonate or no passwords have given out with that email address in the dark web, right? So all these things that they're giving you are going to be tangible things. Hey, you got to fix this. How do you fix that? And what we've seen before is no one knows how to do that, right? So what we are is we are the remediation, saying, hey, if you want this fixed, we can do it. Infotech can do it for you. And probably the best thing about this whole thing is it's free for a year if you qualify and if there's still funding for it. So the state has set aside an X amount out of that $1 million grant, and yeah, that's what they're going to be working off of this first go around. The hope is to come back and say, hey, state of South Dakota, this is a problem for the small businesses. There's just not funding there. We want to provide another round of funding for a year for these small businesses, and majority of them are you going to qualify. I can say that now, and kind of going through the first process of these. So as an association, you will get more information via your newsletter, talking to the individuals up here on it. They are aware, so we're going to try to get that in the newsletter. But if you want this information first, or kind of what the next steps are, or how to get a sign up for it, just shoot me an email, tyler.rood@infotechsd.com. So with that, I'll hang on as Thomas goes through his stuff here. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll look at them at the end here. So I'm going to stop sharing my PC and turn it back over.
Perfect. Thank you, folks. So this is a change of pace from what Tyler was talking about. My portion of the presentation today is much more about winding up your practice, looking towards steps that you can take even now, even if retirement is a considerable period away for you. So I think it's valuable to start to look at those things, but fortunately there are great resources out there with the Bar Association to help you with this. So when we are talking today about security and keeping things safe, we are talking as much for your family, for the other people that you practice with, for your clients, for your own health and well-being. And so that leads to my first tip. So this is my first tip, don't ever get sick, don't get any older, and don't ever die. And I think that is the practice that is most often utilized by lawyers in the state of South Dakota, is denial that anything is ever going to happen. And even while we dream or plan or spend considerable time talking and thinking about retirement and what it'll look like, we don't take the necessary steps to actually see that happen. And there is something, beyond picking locations and how many months a year am I going to live here, there, or somewhere else. There is as much to it if you get involved in the steps necessary for your practice to be successfully transferred to another person. You are taking steps that are going to make that more possible. Just had a conversation the other day with an attorney who indicated that this attorney was having a very difficult time retiring because of clients that they had for a long period of time who they didn't want to give up on, but they would also like to retire, but didn't know who to give them over to, who they could trust. Again, more of an issue for sole practitioners. The classic, why should I care about that? That is the least of my problems when I'm dead. I suppose that's technically true, but you do have a responsibility to your clients as well as to safeguard whatever you put aside for your loved ones, which can be damaged by lawsuits if you have not prepared sufficiently for the transition of your practice. So the second point, which is on the same, is for those of you whose kids are out of the home, whether your partner is living or not living, is there regular activities that you are involved in where someone would know if you're not there? I mean, besides just they didn't show up to the office today, they're not answering their phone, but it's different. You know, my mom still practices with me at 87 years old, and you know, but we know to check on Mary to make sure that she's okay and that things are fine. And these things are going to become more important, and you can maintain social interaction, but the last question you want to answer or ask yourself is, how many weeks would it take for someone to find my dead body if I were to die at home alone? Make sure that people know to check on you, reach out to others, not only for your own health and well-being, but also just to stay in touch with people and to socialize and to keep those things going. Activities in retirement are important. That's a little aside, but you know, they're going to be important for the rest of your life. Next slide. So succession planning for your practice, the first thing is you need an assisting attorney. So this is someone that you formally designate in a written document to take over and assist the closing of your practice. Now, people believe that the concept of an assisting attorney is the person who will take over all your clients. We will talk about that, but it is sometimes not the best thing to have the assisting attorney be the same person as the successor attorney. And again, we'll talk about that. But one of the things that you need to designate, and I know the bar asked us, and this goes back, I don't know, 15 years or something, to say that we all had to designate someone who would be there to take over the practice if we weren't available. And I have named that person. We all know who it is for them, and they know who it is for me, and would know if something had happened to me or me to them to be able to take that over. But the assisting attorney's job is to ramp up your practice, make sure that your clients get representation, that they get their files back, that they make sure that the cases get closed out, that your trust account is dispersed back to the clients whose money it is. Oftentimes our trust account is also where funds are deposited in the middle of litigation, waiting for a final determination and disbursement of those funds. Those have got to get to the right person. The assisting attorney is empowered by this document to do those things, to wrap up the practice and to make sure that it's closed off. You need an assisting attorney to be designated. Separate, distinct from that, as you sit here today, is someone else on your trust account. Now, it seems counterintuitive, but you know, in much the same way that Tyler talked about two-factor, this, that, I don't think you need two signatures on every trust account check necessarily, but if something were to happen to you, death or disability, is there somebody there who could actually write those trust account checks, either to pay you for work that's been accomplished, return the funds to the person whose funds they are, return funds that were claimed during litigation that are now resolved? Is somebody else even authorized? You know, in some offices you can, you know, smaller banks or different, but you could stamp my signature name on a check and sort of go, but you don't get to do that if I'm dead. You don't get to pretend like we're just carrying on business any longer and stamp checks. And I sure don't want to sit there with a drawer full of pre-signed checks waiting for someone to be able to disperse those funds. You need to have an authorized co-signer on your trust account. there are alternatives to that. We're going to talk about, how all this flows together and works together. But as a stopgap right now, having an authorized co-signer on your trust account, sometimes typically not even an attorney, not necessarily another attorney in your office, not because of fraud purposes, but just because somebody who would not have any opportunity or motivation to access the trust account except if something happened to you. So a relative perhaps who would be an authorized co-signer on your trust account to follow the example of the existing attorney, assisting attorney, to write those checks and to help people when they need it. The assisting attorney would more or less direct the person who is on the trust account. Oftentimes, again, it's not always practical, but it's better to have someone other than the assisting attorney be the co-signer on the trust account, so there are no conflicts for that assisting attorney in deciding whether or not to disperse money to people. That the assisting attorney's job is to wrap up the practice. The co-signer on the trust account's job is to write the checks the assisting attorney is authorizing that person to sign. Same thing goes for your business account. Sole practitioners especially are often the only signatory, or perhaps an assistant in their office is an authorized signatory on their business account. So to pay the ordinary bills of your office, it's going to be necessary that someone be able to do that. Now, we talk about these in trusts and wills by saying, well, I could have a power of attorney. I could have a POA person there to take my place in certain circumstances in order to write those kind of checks. Much simpler, much cleaner, much quicker, much easier to have an authorized co-signer on the business account. Again, that person might well be the same person as the authorized user on your trust account, but somebody who in your absence for death or disability would have the ability to carry on the normal bill paying practices of your office. There is on the bar website, and it will be at the end of this whole presentation as we get to number 6, there is a sample agreement for the appointment of an assisting attorney. I think the bar has or will or should make sure that everybody has signed a sample agreement, much like a trust account compliance agreement, authorizing an assisting attorney. But again, that's not the last step in all this. That's more or less the first step, is to have someone assist in the closing of the practice. So as we move on and look at that sample agreement, really the sole practitioner committee put together, it's on the state bar website, and it's probably 80 or 90 pages of advice, which I am solely summarizing and hoping I can cover most of the high points. But it's well worth a read. It opened my eyes quite a bit as it was compiled, and again, as I read through it in anticipation of today, to look at those sample agreements and look at the requirements for winding up a practice, to see all the different pieces that would be valuable to have in place. The malpractice claim can come in as if the delay in implementing any of these things causes a prejudice to your clients. It has happened, obviously, in the history of litigation in this country. But if you have a time-sensitive matter, if you have deadlines to file, do pleadings, do things like that, and you do not have a succession plan in place with an assisting attorney as well as an attorney to handle your clients for you or to be assigned in those cases, there can be malpractice considerations. Again, not because you've done something wrong, but because of your failure to have the plan in place to secure and safeguard your client's interests. The assisting attorney, as well as the successor attorney, More so, the successor attorney would also need to check for their own conflicts of interest. Again, if I hand over my practice to the sole practitioner across the road, that person, can't obviously represent people that they're on the other side of, or that they've had representation conflicts with before. Again, it doesn't mean you need to appoint 3, 4 different people in case of conflict, but at least to have the successor attorney in place and let that person know to check for conflicts so that they can have someone take their place and represent your clients in cases in which they might be involved. So, this is going to roll back into that power of attorney notion, but a well-crafted power of attorney is also going to designate situations, and it's not always death. We could be in a car accident or through dementia or anything else, be in a position not to be able to carry on the work that we're supposed to. We could have a stroke or a heart attack. We, in the course of doing this for the 30, 40 years that I've been doing it, I've had cases come up where the other attorney is absolutely not available due to disability to continue that case. And it prejudices your clients, but what are the conditions that would trigger a disability? I used to, laugh about these things, and why would anyone in attorney buy disability insurance? You can't disable us. I mean, we can be sight impaired and we can still do our practice. We can be hearing impaired. We can be non-ambulatory and we can still do our job. So, short of chopping our heads off, how do you disable an attorney? And it wasn't just then, but again, there are scenarios, and now I see them more often as I joined that age group, that there are disabilities and inabilities to practice that are going to trigger a temporary disability for you to have someone in place. And again, the assisting attorney can be authorized not just to wind up your practice, but also you can have a power of attorney for a situation where you are not able to continue your practice on the regular basis that you do. I'll have you scroll down, Beth. Thank you. So, and this dovetails also into what Tyler was talking about. Are you up to date now? If someone jumped on your computer, is everything calendared there? Is there a list of everything that you need to accomplish? Do you have a complete list of your clients anywhere other than up in your head? Because those things are going to be necessary. And it's hard enough to stay organized for yourself, but imagine now it's my job to go to the office of someone who I don't regularly see, and can I take over and know what needs to be done with each one of their clients without having to contact each and every one of them, set down another initial consultation, which may or may not be convenient for the clients. Do we know where we are, or at least a thumbnail sketch of where we are? I think most of us would say, yeah, you'd have to look at my computer and the most recent communication, and that's probably, look in the file, that's as good as I'm going to be able to do, which is fine to the point of showing where are we now, but it's not so fine for showing what do I need to do next? What's the next deadline? What's the next action? What's the strategy in the client's litigation? As Tyler talked about, what would happen if your computer blew up or somebody hacked it and you didn't have access to an online calendaring system. I've since law school, kind of old school, I've always kind of had a written calendar that I carry over, and every month when time switches over to the new month, I just recalendar everything that's out there and have a list of tasks. Now, that's very old school, but there might come a time where old school pen and paper is going to be, handy to have. And I know people practice without paper now. I know they practice without using tactile functions, but then what happens in the scenario where the electrical grid goes down or the computer internet goes down or there is sabotage? Nothing is going to be available to you as far as online access or calendaring access, if that's the only method by which you calendar. So even to have a cursory or even the highlights of a calendar that is somewhere other than, or, you know, as Mr. Root said, you know, have it in 3 different formats. I mean, have it on a thumb drive that you swap out every day and drop into your handbag. And then if something happens, at least you have an older version of that, and or a 1-day old version of that, and you can keep your calendaring system. But it's going to have to, folks, be one or the other. Either you are going to have to do constant backing up in the 3-2-1 system that he talked about, or you're going to have a backup system that is much more pen and ink in order to do those things. More over and above the to-do list or the calendaring list is, what are your office policies and procedures? Now, this is valuable not only to let the assisting attorney know what to do next and how to do it, but also it can outline disciplinary action for employees. It can talk about, this is how we do things. It's something to hand. You know, we always joke that nobody's irreplaceable, and except my assistant. You know, that person is irreplaceable, but if something were to happen to the paralegal office assistant here, somebody would need to be able to take over those duties as well. And the sooner that you have a policies and procedures manual, as soon as you have a list of, here's how we do this, here's how we do billing, here's how we do collections, here's how we do calendaring, here's the procedure for scheduling initial consultations with new clients, here's how all these things work as a policy manual, at least it makes it easier for the next person to take over. So here's an irony. The person that you choose to be the assisting attorney to wrap up your practice and your death of disability probably terminates, their authority terminates upon your death. So your personal representative, and you know, let's all assume we have wills, even though that's another joke within the bar, that the vast majority of us don't have their wills updated, even though we encourage all our clients to do it and scoff at them if they haven't. The fact is, your assisting attorney's authority under your written agreement for that person to act upon your death might well terminate upon your death, because you no longer have authority to enter into that contract, which may be void or voidable. So to know that you have a personal representative, to have that personal representative know that they may well have to reappoint the assisting attorney, as well as have someone who's able to write on your trust account and your business account to pay the assisting attorney, to pay your bills and to do things like that. Again, a little check mark to know there are 3 or 4 individuals that need to be involved in this whole process in order to make sure it runs smoothly. So one of the suggestions in the manual, and I think it's a good one, is to fund a very, you know, maybe, I don't know how well your offices are functioning in this way. Maybe there's plenty of money there that even if you don't make a single deposit in 60 days, you still have plenty of money to pay all your employees and all the bills and office rent and every single bill that comes into your office. That's usually not the case. Either the office account rolls over to your personal account at some point and you leave a float in the office account, or you know, you have a line of credit with the bank for good times and bad, but You can't authorize that line of credit to pay the bills unless that's specifically authorized for the assisting attorney or someone else. Bank's obviously going to take a harder look if you're not there to bring in revenue. One of the recommendations in the manual, and it's a good one, is to fund a very fairly low cost life insurance, naming your business account as the beneficiary of that life insurance policy, even if it's $20,000 or something for a policy that shouldn't cost much on a term policy, just to have funds that would go directly into your business account to pay the expenses of your business during that period of time. Just a good tip, I thought. Next. So, you know, this is sort of my humorous way of saying, but we all have them. You know, we laugh and complain here because they let judges switch out of cases every couple, 3 years, so they don't have to deal with the ones that never go away. Well, we all have them. We don't get to switch out every 2 or 3 years all our clients that, you know, are not the easiest cases in the world, but we need to be able to do it. So whatever those are, you know, somebody needs to know your passwords. Somebody needs to know what are the problematic ones. Somebody needs to know what the problem cases are. When we talked earlier about the assisting attorney versus the subsequent attorney to represent your clients, if you have an assisting attorney who's there to wrap up your practice, any malpractice that that person uncovers, they do not have to disclose because they are your attorney. The subsequent attorney, the one who takes over for your clients, does have an obligation to disclose any malpractice that he or she finds. So the assisting attorney, you can say, hey, 15 years ago, I screwed up this case and it might come back to bite me at some point. Letting that person know does not necessarily expose you directly. You might have your obligations with your carrier or things like that, don't get me wrong, but there's a difference between your obligation to a confidential assisting attorney who discovers malpractice and a subsequent attorney who takes over your case who discovers anything that might be amiss or not 100% kosher. So again, a good reason to have an assisting attorney who is just your advocate and a subsequent attorney to take over the caseload. Let's go to the next one. So who are all these people? So essentially, get your will done, have a personal representative, let the personal representative know that you have an assisting attorney that's going to help, you know, take care of your practice. And the assisting attorney needs to know who the subsequent attorney is going to be. The assisting attorney is probably not the right person, nor is the subsequent attorney to have signatory authority on your trust account and your business account. Potentially your personal representative would be the person who would also do that. Again, folks, remember, when we do POAs and things like that, we need to have these things in place, not just for our death, but in a case where we might have a stroke or a disability, which might be temporary in nature, might be more long going, to have someone take over and do those things in the absence of your ability to carry on your practice. Again, in an ideal world, we all make, you know, plenty of money and we have a successor attorney and we've convinced our children to become lawyers. Maybe, I don't know if that's a good thing or bad. They take over the old man's practice and there you have it. And you sail off into the sunset and enjoy your golden years or do whatever it is you're going to do it. Again, those things take real planning, real effort, and need to be done in advance. It's starting, and the best place to start is the next slide. There is on the State Bar website, it is planning ahead, a guide, 80-90 pages of how to put all this together and submit the forms and have it all in place. So yes, there is, you know, short of don't ever get sick and don't ever die. There's lots of things that can happen over the course of time, whether you're a sole practitioner or in a smaller firm. I don't know that it's necessarily wise to just assume that whoever you're in the same office with is just going to take over and everything's going to go smoothly. I do want to leave questions, especially those who have questions for me or Tyler. You can always email me, folks. I hope I have a reputation as someone who will reach out and help folks if they have any questions about family law, child support, or anything we've talked about today. I try to make myself available to do those things for people, and really appreciated hearing from Tyler. And I'm going to start the questions, Tyler. So my thumb will open my phone, but how do I two-factor? Somebody could, if they got into my phone, they could swipe and get to, like you say, the bank accounts, and at that point, my bank doesn't offer two-factor identification. I've asked them. So I'm going to have to either switch. I mean, how do you two-factor your phone when it says, well, we sent a text to your phone? Well, what good does that do if it takes two factors to open your phone?
For sure. So the biggest thing is there's different ways to multi-factor. So your phone in particular, to open your phone, you'd be looking at your thumbprint, your face, or a PIN to get into your phone. And then once you get in and you go to, unfortunately, like I said, your bank doesn't offer that multi-factor, which has to be around the corner. There's not too many banking industries that they are not allowing it anymore. And that's the thing about those audits. We talked about that is if we don't do that as an organization, as a small business, there's really no slap on the wrist. Well, if you don't do that as a bank, you're not a bank tomorrow, right? So they'll be, my guess is releasing those features. But yeah, to get into your phone in particular, right off the bat, it's going to be thumb, face, or a PIN number.
Okay.
Good question though. And then I'll finish that other one. Carly had one. Windows 11 servers. There's no Windows 11 servers. The servers naming convention goes 08, 12, 16, 19. Windows 11 is only going to be to the PC alone, not necessarily to the server. So.
Great. Thank you, Tyler. And I had a question for both of you, but for you first, Tyler, I'm wondering, let's say, we have various size firms down to solo, and anticipating who might be listening to this later. Let's say you don't qualify for the grant. Can a firm retain Infotech and have you do an evaluation of what may be needed for cybersecurity and then get a quote on how much it may cost to get that completed?
1,000%. Yes. So let's say you don't A, want to do it, or B, you don't qualify, or C, the funds have ran out. Yeah, shoot me an email. What our kind of practice is, I would come down, we'd do a preliminary assessment, face value for the most part. We don't dive into the servers. We don't dive into your firewall. We just kind of visually see what you have. And then I come back to my team and we put a roadmap together, and then we will get you quotes for remediation. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you.
It's going to be kind of a three-part process. One is just, let's say you have all Windows 7 computers. We're going to say there's going to be a hardware component. We can't work with 7s. It's just, we can't be a cybersecurity team and say, yeah, we'll allow that. So there'll be a hardware assessment, and then one would be the quotes. And we go off of monthly quotes. We, if you call in once, if you call in 20, 30 times, it's all the same flat rate, is how our business model goes. So then we provide all the licensing for you. Yeah, it's kind of a all-in-one package for you. So yeah, great question.
Great.
And yeah, kind of what Thomas was talking about too is, does everyone have their calendars backed up? With that Microsoft 365, we've seen, I swear, a cat has walked across a keyboard and deleted emails and calendars. Something simple as that. So yes, there's backup solutions for calendars. We have a solution. Microsoft's got a solution. So like you talked about, there are different levels of backups just to calendars and emails. And then, yeah, to your policies, yes, we have organizations where if an individual inside of the organization fails a phishing test 3 times, that is terms for termination because they're in a cybersecurity field and they can't. And that's written into their policies as well. So, but yeah, but policies are huge. Acceptable use policies, stuff like that. That's stuff that we can help out with and kind of give you some blank documentation if you're our clients. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I don't know if Marilyn is still on, but I think she raised her hand during Tom's presentation. We'll see if she responds. I'll give her a minute.
I'm
Go
still
ahead.
here. I'm still here, but that was just an accident when I was switching my phone around.
Okay.
just like the cat on the keyboard.
Yeah.
Easily
Well.
happens. And like I said, I did have a question for you, Tom, as well. And again, trying to think of who might be listening to this. And let's say we have a solo practitioner in a very remote area who's anticipating retirement. What if they don't know anyone that they could ask to be an assisting attorney? Is there any resource for them to turn to for help just to even get that started?
Well, I mean, I think the goal of, PRP, Project Rural Practice, was to make sure that we would have more than one attorney in a particular county, because, if you got one state's attorney and no public defender, or one of each, and, that's the only person, everything's going to be a conflict. I think, the realities of being in a very rural area are that you might have to reach a little farther to find someone to be the subsequent attorney. The assisting attorney is a nice way of saying it, but I'm not 100% sure, and I'd have to look back through the manual, Heather, but I'm not sure it even has to be an attorney. If you designate somebody who's not necessarily maybe your banker, or, a friend that from a professional organization, to say, here's the responsibilities that we have to wind up my practice, including finding an attorney for my clients. That's the role that I think could be a non-lawyer role, as well as, the signator on the bank accounts and things. It's, how do you, and one of the recommendations, folks, as you even get foresight, there is a possibility, folks, if something happens to me, that there are no local practitioners, and it may be very, very difficult. And I want you to know this now. I might not be able to find a subsequent attorney but not that you wouldn't know that if you were living in Bison, but it might be necessary just to say, we are rural. There are only 4 people who practice in this area, and it might be very difficult to find someone to take over these cases if I'm not available and I don't have anybody lined up.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I would think if the person's desperate enough to, they could just contact the state par office, and
Sure.
somebody there could assist as well.
Yes.
So.
I mean, I think that's a catch-all answer, and I don't know. I hate to say, oh yeah, the bar will know what the right answer is.
Right.
I don't know that the bar would know, but I know they try to help.
Exactly. Well, I know it's been over an hour, but if there are any other questions, I guess, let me know. Meanwhile, I know that there were both emails for Tom and Tyler at the end of the presentation, but if you didn't catch those, you can contact the State Bar at info@sdbar.net, and you will be directed to Tom or Tyler. And once you leave today's webinar, you'll receive a survey on the presentation, and we'd appreciate it if you could provide some feedback to that. And I think, hearing no further questions, on behalf of the State Bar, thank you both for the presentations today. We very much appreciate it. And thanks for all of those who are joining us now or viewing later. But to all of you, have a happy holiday season.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tyler. Thanks,
Thanks,
Beth.
Joe.
Good to see
Appreciate
you, Marilyn. Bye, everybody.
See ya.